So this is the Mark II version of my liquid-cooled bed cooling project, and it's working really great. Honestly, I absolutely love this. The first generation was kind of built as a prototype in a box, and this one, as you can see, is more integrated into the bed frame itself. And I could further, clean up all the wires and, some of the bottom stuff is just like sitting on cardboard boxes. So, I could drill that bracket into the wood and so forth. But so far, really love it. I think this is a successful project, and I'm happy to continue to use it and continue to improve it. Everything is built off the shelf. So there's 4 major parts. Here's the pump itself, and the radiator, and the reservoir, and the mat on the bed. And that's I recycled from an existing production unit that I bought. The cooler itself was really crappy, but I just recycled this. It's a Twin XL, so it fits exactly half on a king. That's this size bed. I prefer it kind of oriented this way, so it's on my back. I just find it's easier than having a whole body like cooling. There's 3 fans, but they basically never spin. They're on a thermostat to 27 degrees, which I find a nice comfortable temperature. But with the triple radiator like that, it actually has so much cooling power that you can just run it passive. This is the Next D5 pump, which I chose because it has a fan controller and thermostat inside the pump itself, so it does all of the computer parts. I might still make like an Arduino or some kind of other automation so I can kind of control it more fully, especially with cheaper, dumber pumps. This one I bought because it had all of the bells and whistles, and I wasn't sure if I wanted that for prototyping or not. And now that I've built this, I have this pump, which is just like a Vario pump that has the little thing on the back where you can adjust the speed just sort of once and then forget it. And that seems to work really well because, as I found out on my fancy pump, I actually just set it to 50 or 60% and leave it there. Like, there's really no reason to ramp the pump itself up or down. This is nice because it controls the fans, but you could control the fans. Like, PWM is pretty easy, so you can do that a million other ways. This is the bed cooler vinyl that came with the unit I bought. It is not good. If I could find any solution for any of this, it would be to replace this aspect of it. They're hard to source, they're expensive, like needlessly expensive, and they're not very comfortable. I wish I could replace this and intend to at some point. And I 3D printed a little converter to go from the big standard water cooling liquid stuff to this like smaller tube that the bed fitting worked out to be. I used distilled water. It seems to be working. Like the fancy liquid cooling stuff is expensive to ship to Canada for whatever reason, so distilled water seems fine. Seems clean. I ran it through with IPA first to just kind of biocide any residuals, inside the pipes or fittings or whatever. And you might run, any other kind of biocide to clean it up every so often. You're supposed to do that with normal PC liquid loop maintenance anyway, so if you're familiar with that kind of thing, this would be very similar. The one thing I did learn is that the reservoir has to be above the bed itself. My first prototype, everything was kind of in a box on the floor, and while the pump certainly has enough power to pump the water up, when you turn the pump off, then eventually, kind of slowly, the water slows out of the bed and then into the reservoir, and that particular reservoir just doesn't have the capacity to handle that much water, and so it flooded. So putting the reservoir higher means that the fluid pressure, is advantageous. The question I get a lot, and the one most dear to my heart, is it quiet? The production model that I bought originally just had some like cheap components and a power supply that sort of whined a little bit, and I'm really sensitive to sounds, as it turns out. And so those kinds of hums and whirs and things were super annoying to me. The pump is so quiet that I literally can't demonstrate in this video how quiet it is, because the ambient room sound of just like being in an apartment and having street noise and things is louder than this running. All in all, I consider this a huge success. I want to build more prototypes for friends and family who have already expressed interest, but it's all off-the-shelf parts. I encourage everyone to build one. Oh, I didn't even mention this, but it actually runs on like 10 watts of power, so theoretically you could run it on solar in a trailer or a tent or, on your boat or, anywhere where AC is prohibitively energy expensive, but you can still run, these really efficient, really practical kind of cooling systems.